no exclusions.
They're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two.
The president later posting nobody is getting off the hook, arguing there was no tariff exception announced on Friday, and that the products are just moving to a different tariff bucket. Last night on Air Force One, the president also promising tariffs on semiconductors, key parts used in many electronics, but Trump saying he might give exceptions to some companies or products.
You have to show a certain flexibility. Nobody should be so rigid.
Democrats say the president's chaotic tariff rollout has backfired.
President Trump now has a crisis in credibility.
All of it fueling new anxiety for consumers. At the Apple store in Chicago, some shoppers told us tariffs are driving them to upgrade their phones as soon as possible.
I feel like I shouldn't have to be checking the news every single day to make sure I can afford products that we've all been kind of accustomed to.
Force One overnight, the president said those semiconductor tariffs will be announced over the next week. He also promised pharmaceutical tariffs are on the way, with the goal of having more prescription drugs made in the U.S., Laura.
Hey, Gabe, on the immigration front, there's also an interesting update in this legal battle over that Maryland dad who was mistakenly deported. What's the Justice Department saying about that?
Yeah, Laura, late last week, the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Well, the White House accuses him of being a gang member, but no evidence has been made public to prove that. The Trump administration argued in a court filing over the weekend that it is not required to work with El Salvador to secure his return, setting up a potential showdown with the federal courts. Today, the president is set to meet with El Salvador's president here at the White House. Laura?
All right, Gabe, thank you. Now to breaking news overnight. The death toll is rising from a massive Russian missile strike in Ukraine. It came as people were observing Palm Sunday. And just 2 days after U.S. officials met with Vladimir Putin about a possible peace deal. NBC's chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has the story this morning. Keir, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. This attack condemned by many European capitals. Germany's new leader calling it a war crime. The French president saying Moscow shows a blatant disregard for human life, while the Secretary of State calls it a tragic reminder of why President Trump wants a durable peace. Russia's deadliest missile strikes this year were captured on video. Terror in the city of Sumy as people gathered on Palm Sunday morning. 34 killed, including 2 children, just days after President Trump's Russia envoy, Steve Witkoff, spent more than 4 hours with President Putin in St. Petersburg, discussing what the Kremlin called a Ukraine settlement. Many other Trump officials condemning the killings, his Ukraine envoy saying it crosses any line of decency, his Secretary of State calling it horrifying. While President Trump saying overnight the attack was a mistake.
I think it was terrible, and I was told they made a mistake, but I think it's a horrible thing. I think the whole war's a horrible thing.
The moment of impact caught on dash cam. A local Ukrainian mayor saying a military award ceremony was planned in the region, calling that a pretense for 2 strikes on a civilian area, one following another. Ukrainian officials accusing Russia of using cluster munitions. Sumy is close to the Russian region of Kursk, where NBC News reported last month. The Russian military can appreciate being filmed, but believe me, there are a lot of truth. Moscow may be preparing for a major offensive in the region, analysts warn, even as the Trump administration talks peace. Overnight, President Zelensky saying what is missing right now is pressure on the aggressor, adding Russia is not afraid. And in an interview with 60 Minutes, recorded before the strikes, accusing some in the Trump administration of supporting Russian narratives.
In the U.S.
And Savannah, we still know very little about what was said between President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and President Putin. He went straight from there to here in the Middle East and a dialogue with Iran. He's also handling Gaza and attempts to release the hostages there. A lot for one man, Savannah.
All right, Keir, thank you.
There are new developments tied to this ongoing investigation into last week's fatal crash of that sightseeing helicopter here in New York City. Crews still searching the Hudson River for key pieces of that chopper, which could provide important clues about what went wrong. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin joins us now with the very latest. Aaron, good morning.
Laura, good morning. Divers are expected to return to the waters of the Hudson today. They'll be searching for critical clues. In fact, behind me, you can see the flashing lights of a police boat. That's right around where the helicopter went down. Meanwhile, this morning, the FAA says the helicopter company in question has shut down its operations. We want to warn you that some of the images you're about to see are disturbing. Just days after that tragic helicopter crash in New York City, the FAA says the company involved in the deadly incident, New York City Helicopter Tours, is shutting down their operations immediately.
Please keep your eyes open. You guys see anything in the water?
This comes after some lawmakers like New York Senator Chuck Schumer asked the agency to stop the tour company from flying until the investigation is complete.
New York Helicopter Tours is under investigation, under federal investigation for these deaths.
Before the FAA's announcement, the company writing that they are profoundly saddened by the devastating crash into the Hudson River, adding they are fully cooperating with the FAA and NTSB investigations. According to the NTSB, the chopper was not equipped with any flight recorders, and no onboard video recorders have been recovered.
Oh my goodness.
The crash killed everyone on board, including the pilot, Sean Johnson, a Navy veteran, and Augustine Escobar and his wife, Merce, along with their 3 children, the family visiting from Spain and celebrating a birthday.